Hello M&B, I'm Logan Plant. I'm the owner and founder of Beavertown Brewery, and I'm here today with Jen, our head brewer. So I started the brewery about 3 years ago in the basement of Duke's Brew & Q, which is our restaurant, American barbecue restaurant in Hackney, just south of Dalston. I started brewing, home brewing about a year before that, so about 4 years ago, and I specifically wanted to brew to the food at Duke's, beef ribs, pork ribs. So I started out by brewing the 8 Ball, which is a rye IPA, 6.2%, and the Smog Rocket, which is a smoked porter, 5.4%. We then moved over to Hackney Wick, and we took the same kit, which was like a 600 litre kit. And then about 9 months ago, we moved to Tottenham Hale, which is where we're based today. Now we brew about 5,500 litres of brew. We've got many different beers in our range. We've got about 6 or 7 core beers. We experiment a hell of a lot. The 2 beers that you guys are going to be serving on draft will be the Gamma Ray American Pale Ale, 5.4%, and the Neck Oil Session IPA, 4.3%.
Gamma Ray is a bit on the sweeter side. It's got a lot of low color crystal malt in it, so that you get a little bit of the caramel notes, some tropical fruit notes and citrus notes coming from the hops, and it's got a lot more of this sort of mouthfeel and body because it's an unfiltered beer than some beers in the marketplace at the moment. So you'll find that it has live yeast in package, that it has lots of mouthfeel, and the molecules on the tongue that we choose not to filter out, we feel like bring a lot more flavor to the party. Okay,
introducing the Neck Oil. It's a 4.3% Session IPA. So an IPA is an India Pale Ale, traditionally very strong, maybe over 6.5% up to 7.5%, 8%. This is a Session IPA, so that means you can drink a lot of it, you can session on it. It's 4.3%. The basis of this beer was to create uber crisp, very dry, very kind of pale, but again, hop it like an IPA. IPAs have a lot of hops.
We've tried to balance the bitterness and the big hop aromas against that clean, crisp sort of backgrounds, and then lots and lots of herbal, sort of spicy fragrance from the hops with the tropical, and the complexity of the hop bill there against the very kind of minimal, crisp backbone of the malt. It brings a really moreish, sort of sessionable IPA.
Okay, and the next 2 beers that you guys are going to feature in small pack, in cans, are going to be the Neck Oil Session IPA, 4.3%, and the Smog Rocket Smoked Porter, 5.4%. We've talked a little bit about the Neck Oil earlier on. So the Smog Rocket is basically a recipe that I came up with when I started homebrewing around 4 years ago. As I mentioned, this was to go with the beef ribs at Duke's Brew & Q. So what I wanted to do is to work on the essence of the rib, and that's kind of like molasses and char and smokiness, and I wanted to kind of create a beer around that. So typical homebrew recipe, there's about 10 different malts in there, and I use about 30% of a malt called Rauchmalz from Bamberg in Germany, which is a beechwood smoked malt. That gives it that kind of undertone of smokiness. I didn't want it to be too over the top, and I also wanted to work on the kind of darker malts, the crystals, to bring out those kind of raisin notes and kind of molassesy characters.
So the Smog Rocket, you'll find, is a much darker beer. It's a proper porter, so it's got a lot of mouthfeel and a lot of character to it, but it's not as big and heavy as a stout. It doesn't have all of the sort of the acrid and bitter stout notes that you might get from the dark malts. We tried to brew it as smooth and as complex as possible, so it's got a lot of characteristics that pick up on different flavors in foods. You'll be able to serve it alongside a lot of different types of foods and find all sorts of complementary notes. It's got all different types of sweetnesses and molassesy notes, and almost like a savory note to it, as well as the smoke. But you'll find it very smooth and easy drinking as well.
Okay, so guys, I just want to say a big thank you, and one of the main things that we at Beavertown like to do is to have fun and communicate and educate. So if you can do that with us out there at M&B, then I wish you all the best and enjoy.